All right, hey, we have the MECC College Challenge here. This is a case written by Peter Scharl. Pretty funny, all the instructions are missing. 5 bonus questions, and 4 of them require you to finish levels all the way through 7 before you can answer those, so we'll just come back to all of those. All right, so first one, level 1 here. They give us a player number who has the correct answer. So here, for example, we would want to get the 4th item. The correct answer is 58. Simple little formula here, the index function. Index, we give it a range of values. And then the second item is normally which row we want, although this particular data set has only 1 row. So we're allowed to put the column number in that second argument. Usually it'd be index, comma, row, and then column. In this case, with a 1 row range, we can just go straight to the column. So this is going to grab the 4th value, the 58 there, the 12th value, the 75 there. Just a fast way to do that without having to do HLOOKUP or XLOOKUP or any of those things. So level 1, definitely easy. All right, level 2. Level 2, they give us the correct answer. We need to figure out how many people had that correct answer. So this is a function that has been around for a long time called COUNTIF. Up here on the formula bar, you can see it better than that green background there. So we specify the range of all 25 players' answers, count how many times they were equal to 31 there in G101. Now, this level 2 here with COUNTIF later convinced me to pursue COUNTIF again and actually worked against me. So while it was easy here, it actually put a COUNTIF formula in my head that later on is going to become a problem. Okay, now in levels 3 through 7, they don't give us the 25 answers, right? So the hardest part here is getting the list of answers from all of these various 25 sheets. Now, the first thing I do in each case is I put the numbers 1 through 25. The easy way to do this, of course, would be equal sequence, 1 row, 25 columns, and that gets the numbers 1 through 25. In this particular case, they're just hard-coded as values there. And then an amazing function. This function comes in super handy once in a while. It's called the indirect function. It allows us to build, as the result of a formula, something that looks like a cell address. So what I'm doing here is I'm concatenating an apostrophe, the player number in row 138, another apostrophe, then the exclamation point, and I've hard-coded that I want E83 through E104. It's funny, I'm currently in row 139 and I'm pulling from E83. I initially thought, well, I could use the row function to try and make this more variable, but I ended up just hard coding these in this example and the next 4 examples. Copy that across here, and that's a very quick way then to get data from 25 different worksheets, all thanks to indirect. A lot of people say they don't like indirect because it's volatile, it slows things down, but in this particular case, it's going to work just fine. All right, so that gives us the grid over there on the far right-hand side of the 25 players' answers. We're going to have to do that again for level 4, 5, 6, and 7. But then from there, it's already the formula that we used above, the COUNTIF function. Look through this range of answers and see how many are equal to 46. So if you've solved level 2, that formula there is going to be easy once you figure out how to use indirect. And that indirect then is going to factor in again in level 4 through 7. Okay, level 4, this is where it starts to get a little bit crazy. So we have the player who has the right answer. So player number 10 has the right answer. Simple here to get the correct answer, index just like we did back in level 1. But then we need to find everyone who has that correct answer and add up their player number, which of course is never a thing that we'd have to do. All right, so here's how I did that. I'm going to look at everything in this row, K180 to AI180, and see if it's equal to the right answer. These are going to evaluate to a series of trues and falses right there. So that list of trues and falses. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take those trues and falses, which by the way cannot be added up, but I'm going to multiply them by the numbers up here in the purple range. When you multiply trues and falses by something else, the trues change to 1, the falses change to 0. So this is a great way to get the total of all the player numbers that match. Level 5. Okay, figure out which answer is the most common answer, and that's the right answer. So here's what we're going to do for this. I'm going to have a little set of helper cells here where I puzzle this out before I go to a single cell. So I'm going to use the GROUPBY function, and I'm taking the transpose of all of the numbers to the right of me. So that's the key field. This is the sum field. The operation is going to be a count. So count how many people gave that answer. And then here, this is really cool. So here we have field headers. No, I don't want any field headers. Total depth, no totals. And then, this is the thing that makes it all work, the sort order. I want to sort by the second column, descending. That -2 says that we're going to sort descending. And what happens there is, so the answer that had 13 answers was 57. It's going to be at the top. And what I want is the top left corner cell from this. And a sort of new function that will let me do that is the take function. All right, so over here, I put those transpose and group by with the -2. I put that inside of a take function. I want the first row, first column. And so that's going to return for me the 57, all in one formula. Like this little set of helper cells here, that was just to help me figure it out. Now I have this formula that I can copy down. All right, so now the question is, how many people had the answer of 57? Well, we could do another COUNTIF again like we did up above. But look, it's already here in this array. It's the number in the second column, first row. So the most popular answer was 57. How many people had it? 13 players. That's the number I want. So all I had to do here was change the take function to ask for the first row, and I want the first column from the right-hand side. So the -1 tells us that we want to count from the right-hand side. That would do it. Why don't I just say that I wanted the second column? Because if I ask for 2 columns, they're going to give me 2. They're going to give me the 57 and the 13. So by going -1, I'm counting from the right-hand side. Great trick from Charles Williams, an Excel MVP in England, who actually wrote this function long before Microsoft ever wrote this function. All right, so there we go. Level 5. It's starting to get a little bit harder, right? All right. Peter calls this medium hard. We're starting to get pretty tough here. So they're going to give us a list of 24 players. The player who is missing is the player who has the right answer. Okay, so now definitely I'm building this one in a series of steps. First thing I want to do is I want to take the text split of this and I want to break it into new rows. So up here, this is the column delimiter with nothing. In other words, don't split it into columns, but do split it at every comma into a new row. And what that gave me was text numbers. Text 2, text 3, text 4, text 5. So I had to add 0 to that. And then, you see, this one is sorted perfectly, but there's a whole bunch of others. None of them are actually sorted. They're all kind of crazy numbers. So I put that whole thing in the sort function, and that gets me all of the people who were there. All right, now I remember I said earlier that I was tricked into heading down the path of using COUNTIF here because I'd already used COUNTIF above, and it's so common that something you used back on level 2 is going to show up again. You know, you're like, okay, we already did this. And it worked here. I actually put a COUNTIF for the numbers 1 to 25, go count and see how many times they're in this array. And it worked perfectly because COUNTIF expects to point to a range. But when I tried to put it all back together into one formula, COUNTIF, that second argument, COUNTIF, has to be a range. It can't be an array that's calculated in memory, and it just would not work. I probably wasted 3 or 4 minutes heading down that path before I realized it was not the right way to go. Okay, so instead, what I'm doing is I'm using an XMatch here, matching all 25 numbers, 1 to 25, in this array of answers. And then if it's an NA, I change it to a 0. So match is going to give me some positive number. Only one of these is going to have the number 0. And which one is it? Well, that's a match of 0 in that function, and I want an exact match. Why didn't I use exact match there? Or why didn't I use XMatch there? That's a great question. I have no idea. Probably just the history of using match for so long is what came to me. All right, and then putting all of these together. So here we have a formula that refers to Q257. I'm going to take that formula, put it right here, but at the point where we have Q257, I'm going to go pull all of this except for the equal sign, Control-C from the formula bar, and paste it in, right? So we end up with a large function. That function is going to refer back to P257, and so it all ends up as one big formula there, and then copied it down. So that tells me which player is missing from the numbers list. All right, now we've done all of this before. Now that we know which player has the right answer, we use the index function. Go grab the 17th answer from that. which happens to be 31, and then sum all the player numbers. Well, okay, we already did this formula just in the last one, right? So that's easy enough. The hard thing here, I think, was figuring out which one was missing. And boy, there's probably some other hugely better way to do it. But that's, the method. And once you waste 3 minutes heading down the COUNTIF, I want you to realize it's not going to work. Yeah, you're just kind of desperate, what did they say? Any port in a storm, right? Just as an aside here, when we get to those bonus answers, this particular item with this number list taking up all of this space here in these columns forced me to put my array of numbers starting with 1 through 25 over in column U, whereas everywhere else it had started in column K. And this is going to cause some heartburn when I try and solve bonus questions 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm saying that after the fact and realizing how much heartburn it's caused. I almost wonder if I should take all of these numbers that start in K and move everything over to column U. I'm still not sure yet. Okay, all right, now, this time they give us a list of players, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I need to go find the guess for each of those players and take the minimum, right? So, simple enough, we take the text split, and this time we split it not at the column, but each comma gives me a new row. I add a 0 to it. So I know I need players 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Cool little function here, one that we have not used yet today, is choose calls. Choose columns. So out of all those answers to the right of us, I want columns 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in this particular case. So I'm choosing those columns, which is going to return an array of 5 answers. Let's take a look at this right here. That should give me 18, 21, 19, 20, and 21. And then what I want is the min of that whole thing. So I take the min of that, which should give me, gives me the 18. Putting these two back into one formula, same method as before. I take the min and then paste in the formula from column L here to get that, right? So copy that formula. And by the way, how do I copy the formula? I'm going to take it from the formula bar or from edit mode, Control C. I'm not copying the cell there, I'm copying the formula. And then I come back here and I actually type an equal sign to let it know I'm in formula mode, and then I backspace through it. I don't know if that dance is necessary, but that's the way I've been doing it for 30 years. And that's the way I'm going to keep on doing it. And press enter. All right. So I now know what the correct answer is. And then I want to find all the people that had the answer of 18 and sum them up. So third time that I've gotten to use this great little formula of multiplying the player numbers times is this particular guess equal to the correct answer. And there we go. We have all of the points from levels 1 through 7 fairly fast. Fairly fast. I've seen a lot of competitions where people don't get to this. But I think Peter, when he designed this, he wanted people to get through these 7 levels. And now we get to go back and try and work on the bonus question. All right, bonus question 1. Excluding the example, how many games in level 1 did player 1 get correct? So player 1's right here. Here's all of their answers. Here's the correct answers. How many times does this equal that? The formula that I have up here is kind of a strange one. I go look through everything in column G. So that's the correct answers. G62 to G81. See if it's equal to K62 to K81. Player 1 scores. This, again, is going to come up with a whole series of trues and falses. And I need to coerce those trues and falses into numbers. So the minus there will change each true to a 1, each false to a 0, and then just send the whole thing into the sum function, and we're good to go. All right, 4 questions here. And, I have to be staring down not much time. And so I don't want to screw anything up. I'm going to take this case, I'm going to hold down the control key, and I'm going to drag it to the right to make a copy of that. I'm going to copy and paste values here. Select the whole thing, Control C, Control Shift V to paste values. And now I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup. What I have now is a nice block of just the 100 games. I've taken for those other levels where things had moved out to the right. I brought everything back. And so now with this nice contiguous block of data, I can do COUNTIF. How many people in that range had the answer of 58? Double click to copy that down. And I want to count how many had exactly one answer there. So COUNTIF comma 1, and I get the answer 2. Let's see how that works back here. Oh, I don't get a green check mark there, but that's because I screwed up the check marks. Come back to the original case, plug in the 2, green check mark. Beautiful. Okay. Then the other thing I want to do is I want to figure out which one has 25. So Control F for find. I want to search for 25, not in formulas, but in values. Find next. So that should be game number 97. Try that here. All right, beautiful. How many points out of 1,000 did the winning player get? All right, so we come back to our cleaned up file here. We're going to do a sum product. First up, the points for that answer. Press F4. We're going to multiply that times is the answer they gave equal to the correct answer. Close paren, enter. We'll copy that across. And the max should be 421. What's the question up here? So, the examples are how many points out of 1,000 did the winning player get? 421. Oh, not right. Okay, dollar signs. I gotta be missing some dollar signs somewhere. When I copy that formula to the right, whatever's pointing to column G needs to be locked down. So that G59 through G198, we need dollar signs just before the G. That's 1, 2, 3 presses of F4. Copy that one across. Now we'll look for the max. This time 420. There we are. And then how many correct answers out of 140 did the player with the least number of correct answers have? Well, this feels similar to something I've done before, so I want to take the sum, and then we're going to check and see is this answer equal to the answer in column G. We'll press F4 for the column G portion of that. And we need to convert all of those trues and falses into numbers, so minus minus would do that. Copy this across. And the minimum number of correct answers is 41. Come back, plug that in here. Yes, there we go. Woohoo! All right. How'd you do? There's some tricky things there, definitely. You know, I think the one takeaway here, probably, I'm going to guess, is they gave us these 25 player scores for the first 2 cases, but then when you got to the 3rd case, did you know indirect? I think that's the really, really tricky one, the indirect function. As I do live seminars for people, lots of times I get questions that show me that they have never heard of indirect. Back in the days of Lotus 1, 2, 3, I'm showing my age here, all the functions started with an @ sign instead of an equal sign, and the function was called @. It was @ sign, and then inside the parentheses you would create something that looked like that formula. It definitely was a huge help here, being able to harvest data from the other 25 sheets. You know, I can see you might have been tempted to do something crazy like do Power Query to combine those sheets or something like that. But indirect in this case really just came in super handy to get all of those. All right, so I hope you got them all. And if you didn't get them all, hopefully you learned a couple of tricks.